But back to the Drake thing, we were talking about like language informing some of our slang and stuff like that, and then we were saying that it was a big influence, like patois and stuff, big influence on British slang, but also on Canadian. And then we started talking about Drake, like how, oh, you know, because Drake's from Canada. But then we were like, yeah, but it's a bit sus that it took him what 4 or 5 albums for him to suddenly be like, suddenly he meets Skepta, jumps on a UK vibe, and suddenly it's like, oh no, but Toronto's been Caribbean influence this whole time. So, you know, but it's like, never heard any of that shit in your earlier music though, right?
Listen, he is, because
So
like, if it walks
yeah,
like a duck, quacks like a duck, dude, it's a duck.
right. But the interesting part is related to what you said about how when you heard Sonny his song, suddenly it was like, no, actually, you know what? It changed the
I'll allow
perspective.
him. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had one of my friends then said, when we started talking about him, one of them said, yeah, Drake is a bit of a culture vulture, isn't he? And then the other one said, I think he said something along the lines of, yeah, but he does do it really well though. And then the other one's like, yeah, he does make bangers. And I was thinking, yeah, he does do that sound very well. I'm not going to lie. Every
Yeah.
year it gets played out, you know, summer
Yeah. Yeah. He
barbecues,
does.
and I enjoy it. But then I had to raise the question, which was like, yeah, it's true, and that can be true, but don't you think like he gets a pass for it? Should he
Does
get a
it
pass for
make
it?
it right, sort of thing?
Yeah, because I get that completely, what you're saying about how suddenly like it's easy to go on social media and look at just a picture of someone and have the kind of theory behind it, like the idea of not culturally appropriating and not wearing
Mm.
dreads if you're not black or whatever, and looking at a picture of someone and being like, nope, not with it, cancel, right? But then when you go in depth, it becomes the way your mind works is way more complex than a simple kind of he or she doesn't fit this, therefore done, right? It's way more. Your actual relationships in real life are so much more complex than that.
Absolutely.
And you have a relationship with the artist that you listen to in a sense, right?
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
yeah, so that informs, and especially with music, because it's something that can be so personal, it kind of almost feels like a you're kind of getting to know them a bit better. So then suddenly your perspective changes, because if they carry themselves in a suddenly certain things kind of fly to the wayside to a little bit, and you don't realize it, and you're just like, you know what, actually, yeah, you're a sound guy. I assume you have good intentions and that you have a good reason for this, and actually maybe it's not as deep as I think it is. Had they come off a bad way, right? Had your perception of them been bad, like someone like 6ix9ine, for example, can't stand the guy.
Shouldn't be dropping the N bomb. You and Fat Joe need to stop that.
Right, but for some reason I give Fat Joe a pass.
He needs to stop it. I
He
genuinely,
does need to stop.
I would like to, I'd like to have
I
a
have
stern
words.
word and just be like,
Yeah,
Fat Joe, listen, I'm
yeah,
not a violent man,
no,
but
but
I'm
come on.
sure I could rally up a posse of violent individuals. Now, he'd look at me and just be like, get this UK, wimp
Yeah,
out of my
yeah,
face,
yeah,
man.
yeah,
Who the
yeah, yeah,
does this guy think he is? And he'll probably
yeah,
call
yeah.
me the N word. And I'll be like, right, that's it.
Oh,
Take him
right,
away,
that's it.
boys. Just wheel him out.
Yeah,
Just take him out. He's
take
got to
him
go.
away, boys.
Take him away.
Against his
Van him.
entourage. Yeah,
Listen.
but it's interesting though, because I've always thought that was weird too.
Yeah, I hate it.
But and yet, I think I was listening to his music the other day, like Lean Back and stuff like that, and it just didn't cross my mind. Like a little bit, it did. It's like when you remember, and you're like, oh,
Yeah.
why? But then 6ix9ine, it's like straight off the bat, I'm going in thinking, fuck this guy. So everything
Yeah.
that he does, which
Yeah.
may have overlap with other artists that I do like, for him, I'm very much like, I just don't like you to begin with. So all of these things, I'm calling you out on. Whereas he may have qualities that are very similar to someone else that carries himself in a way that I find to be quite positive, and I kind of
Yeah.
resonate with. And it's weird how psychologically it changes then how you perceive them, right?
Absolutely.
That's
But
why
then,
I'm always preaching this whole don't idolize celebrities and stuff like that, because you can fall into another extreme where you're only getting this one side of them, right?
you
Like R.
don't.
Kelly,
Yeah, exactly. You
right?
don't know the nitty gritty, the
Yeah,
horrible nitty gritty bits of a person. But the thing
Yeah.
is that plays into a like we've been watching like lots and lots of like murder mysteries and crime series and stuff. But
Sure.
it's there's always been this question really, and this is what I think your point of idolizing celebrities, why you shouldn't do that, basically points to a question that you should ask: how well can you know somebody really? Like, even though you might have people nearest and dearest to you, how well do you really know them? And
Right.
that's the thing. So
You
then
can never be in your best friend's head, and you can never be with them when they're truly, because they're truly alone.
exactly.
Right? Very rarely will you be a fly on the wall or watching a security camera of them, because then that opens up
Absolutely.
other ethical questions, right, of why you're doing that in the first place.
Consent. Yeah.
Yeah, right. So unless you have that kind of privileged viewpoint where you can kind of see them where they think that they're truly alone, or somehow you could invent some technology where you can actually, because even then they could act a certain way on the outside. You can never truly know what it's like for them on the inside.
Yeah.
These are people that you know and have formed like deep relationships with.
Exactly.
Your favorite artist is only putting forward what they want to in their music and their imagery and their marketing.
Yeah.
Right. It's not always sinister. Sometimes it's just part of the game, right? It's just part of marketing and part of promoting yourself. You just put what you want to put in. You want to make yourself look as good as possible, and this and that, and have some private life. It's not always a sinister kind of, what are they hiding? Sometimes they're just not hiding anything. They're just being private. They're just showing you. You don't always want to know everything about this particular person. You just want to market the music and the shows and all that sort of stuff. And they have a nice personality. Sick. Let's jump on that. Let's use that in interviews. Cool. Whatever. If you can't really truly know the people that are in your circle and that you see and talk to face to face, how are you truly going to know these people who don't even know you exist and are kind of giving you a kind of particular perspective from them, right? Which they have every right to do.
I think one of the best examples of this is Eminem's Stan. Because it's an extreme example, obviously, but it came up on my YouTube like recommended videos for some unbeknownst reasons. I was like, I haven't seen this. I have not seen this in like 15 years. So I was like, let me watch that again. And I listened to it. And it's very much like, when he says, dear Mr. I'm too good to
to call or write
my fans. Yeah. And it's like, well, no, Eminem probably has, you're not thinking about it from the other side, right? You're just like, this is my personal relationship to you. Why are you not responding to me? And it's like, he's got probably 15,000 million other people to respond to.
You see it in the video, right? The letter falls out and stuff.
Yeah. And you haven't got, there's always like another facet to the story is basically what I'm trying to say.
Of course, yeah.
But yeah, you're right. I mean, how well can you know somebody? The idolization of celebrities, I think, has really hit a brick wall, especially in COVID times, because I don't know if you saw last year, but Gal Gadot and like a bunch of other idiots were singing "Imagine" by John Lennon in this terrible video, and I made it about, I think, about 4 seconds into it, and I was like, nah, like, you guys are actually pointless. And then there was the second one, which was the worst.
There was a second one.
So there was this, it was like another conglomeration of other useless celebrities, right? But I remember Jesse Pinkman was in it. And
yes, I think I know what this was.
I take responsibility.
Yeah.
For the times that I didn't stand up to what was right. But I'm an actor. And I'm so, oh my God, I'm so intense. And this really hurt me. Like, honestly, my goodness. I genuinely, I sent that round to my sister and my brother. We have a little group on Twitter. We're the only ones out of the 5 that use it, right? We three amigos. And I said, I lasted 20 seconds. How long did you last? And it's like 3 seconds, 4 seconds. Like, it is
Like, wow,
one of
you're
the
the stronger
worst.
one.
Only because, what was amazing to me was you guys are trying and straining to be so relevant that you're missing the point. You've
Yeah,
missed the
literally.
boat on doing the right thing, and you making
Mhm.
this video is making you culpable. You're giving me reasons not to support you ever
Oh,
again.
mate.
Like, I don't need to. I
Yeah.
don't need to support celebrities. I don't need. I don't need you guys. You have no bearing on my life, like whatsoever. Just act and shut up. And this is,
Yeah.
but this is a thing, right? So,
Mhm.
um, I've got to give props to Kanye for
Sure.
this one thing, and it was
Just the
during
one.
the BLM marches last year
Yeah.
where he
Yeah.
turned up and
Uh-huh.
said nothing.
Nothing.
He
Yeah.
was just there.
He was, yeah.
However,
Absolutely.
now I know John Boyega, he's a
Yeah.
boy, all right?
Yeah.
I like him as a person, but
Yeah.
when it was BLM here in the UK and he's getting on the mic, bro,
Hmm.
and he's showing that passion and he's crying and all of that stuff and he's feeling it, and you're an actor. Yeah, but you might be coming from a good point, but you're an actor. You can do
So
that
what is
on
it?
command.
I was just thinking that earlier
The problem
when you.
is,
Yeah.
the problem is, I don't know, bro. If that's
Right.
100% genuine, I think it is. My eyes are telling me it is, but is it? And this is the
Oh
thing.
yeah.
Like, this is why celebrities are a dangerous thing, because John Boyega,
Yeah.
talented actor. If you've seen
Yeah.
Detroit, there's one
Yeah. I
moment
think I
in
have.
that where he's in the jail cell and the camera just hovers on him for about 4 seconds. Four of
Mm.
the best seconds he's ever acted. It was amazing. I was like, this guy's
Right.
the real deal, right?
Mm.
Um, but however, I just think that John Boyega just being there and not saying a word, like the BLM protests were about the ordinary man, the normal man, the not
For sure.
famous person. I don't need celebrity. Like, I don't like John Boyega.
Mm.
You're a cool dude in that. We don't
Yeah.
need to hear you. We've seen you in films. We've seen you in
Sure.
interviews. When
Sure.
he's saying like, you ain't gonna Disney Plus me, and that you got attitude. You got sauce,
Yeah.
boy. Like, he's cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
You've
believe
you've
him.
spoken you've been able to speak your parts in other
That's it.
platforms, right?
It's not
Yeah.
like BLM was not the time. It's not the time for celebrities now. It is the time for the
Yeah.
ordinary people. And like this, in the roundabout way, is where I think we are. Well, where I hope we are anyway.
Would you equate the, you know how during the BLM thing there was a lot of companies coming out with statements saying that we back BLM and we back human rights issues, blah blah blah, but then it just felt like virtue signaling, like they put
You've got
it's nothing for them to put out the statement, right? It's nothing for them.
nothing.
Are they actually going to change any of their practices which exploit a lot of this stuff to begin with? Like you see how there's that, right? There's that argument to be made. Do you think it's similar to with celebrities and actors, where it's almost too easy for them to just get on their platform and say something,
Yeah.
not actually do anything? And maybe that's why it leaves that taste in your mouth, like, yeah, cool, like you're just kind of a bonus feature, you add
Yeah.
to the conversation a little bit. I don't need, it's you know what it is, I've always felt this with when it's like something big happens and on the news they would say the prime minister made a statement, or so and so, is we're waiting for a statement from this person. And I used to think, why do we give a fuck what they're going to say?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's the same bullshit that gets said it's just a remix of words where you just fill in the gaps with whatever new thing just happened that went bad, right? Thoughts and prayers with this, and this. We are deeply horrified. Rule of three. Say 3 adjectives of things that you are bad, right? 3 negative words in a row. It's all just shit that you just learned in English class at fucking GCSE, right? About what makes a good speech. Like, like it's always rubbed me the wrong way, because I've just thought these are just empty fucking words. Does anyone sit here and think I am put at ease now because the prime minister has said his speech?
Yeah, there are people that think that. Yeah, there must be.
I don't get it. Am I missing a mark here? That's what I wonder.
I think it's down to mindset. I think it's, people that haven't sort of seen behind the curtain. Maybe they haven't had that sort of like eureka moment where you're like, oh, hang on a minute, that don't sit right. I mean, I think
it's kind of scary, isn't it? Like,
so in all fairness, celebrities are easier to pick on because they're not, renowned for being, the most genius human beings, right?
Sure, yeah.
But then even even when you get to the genius human beings or perceived genius, so you got Bill and
Perceived
Melinda
genius, right?
Gates, right? You know, Bill
Yeah.
Gates is saying about like how you need to lower your carbon footprint and all of that. All right, fine. Show me yours and I'll show you mine, sort of thing. All right, cool. I'll show you my carbon footprint, but you've got 4 fucking private jets, you twat. And you're telling
Right.
me about carbon footprints. Leonardo DiCaprio is talking about flipping air emissions. He's got a private jet. What are you
Yeah.
talking about, Lewis Hamilton? You drive a car for flipping, you know, for your career. What are
For
you
your
talking
living,
about?
yeah.
What are you talking about? I need to cut down my carbon emissions. I tell you what, mate, get rid of your own private jet. Stop driving around in your flashy ass, you know, car or whatever. And then
Right.
we can talk, you know, with my little Ford, like my little Ford Focus parked out front. Like, then we can talk about carbon footprint. Like, these guys are empty.
Yeah.
It's
It's empty, right? There's an argument to be made there that it's too easy for them
yeah,
to say one thing and not actually act on it. And
absolutely.
people, and then, you know, you'll get the people who surge in to praise them because what they've said sounds it's like on
Yeah,
Question Time, like I talked about the other day, you know, when people just, you know, go for the applause as opposed to actually saying anything of weight, right? And
absolutely.
yeah, there's not, unfortunately, there's not a lot of nuance in this kind of conversation with a lot of people. It's very black and white, and that's not how it should be because there is complexity behind this. And like,
Yeah.
yeah, so when it comes to celebrity worship, like there was another I hate to rag on, I'm not trying to rag on Drake or anything, but he just came up a lot during the weekend, right? And but
Good, man. You're
what
preaching to the choir here, bro. It's
no,
fine.
no, no. I'm a big Drake fan. Let's just get this out of the way. I'm not hating because I got told I was hating even this weekend, and I was like, bro, can I not make any criticism of the guy? This is exactly my point. But like, actually, yeah. Funnily enough, one of my friends who said that but he makes bangers though. You know, when we're talking about cultural
Yeah.
appropriation, he actually was on he said something later which I resonated with, and I was on his side. This is what I meant. Like when we kept talking about Drake, it became like 2 of us versus the other guy, and then we shifted the topic slightly. Suddenly it was those 2 against me, and it's like it kept changing like that. You know, very few times everyone would agree with each other. And we were talking about the God's Plan video. I don't know if you've seen it or heard the song. And you know, it's very uplifting, very like kind of, it's a fun song, but it's very uplifting, very kind of motivational. And it was a big hit like in 2018 and probably still is now, right? You can play it now, you know, it would go off. But in the video, he's basically going to all these people and he's like surprising them. So like they will turn around and suddenly like he's there and they'll go like, you know, they'll go ape shit because it's like, that's Drake, right? And then he would like give them like a lot of money and stuff like that. Or he would go to a supermarket and be like, I'm buying everyone's groceries here who's in the store, blah, blah, blah. I'm
Oh,
paying for all of
sweet.
it. Yeah, and stuff like that. Now, what my mate was arguing was that he started to become sour on the song after he watched the video because it just felt like a more glorified version of people who go and give like money to the homeless and film it, like film themselves giving that
Yeah.
money to the homeless,
Yeah.
right? This was a bit of a nicer, touched up, over kind of big budget version of that. In principle, it felt like the same thing, but because it's Drake, suddenly it's aspirational, right? But when it's like keep the same energy for both, right? This is where the idolization starts to come in. When one person does it, and I get, again, there's nuance in there, right?
Yeah.
His intent, I got the intention behind the video. Doesn't mean that he wasn't actually helping them out. He could have been genuinely helping them out when he
Yeah.
shot the video.
Yeah.
But you can't help the fact that people might watch that and feel a bit thrown
Perturbed.
off by it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like when lockdown happened, he did the Tootsie Slide video, and he was like, "We're, you know, I'm doing this because we're in lockdown. We're all in this together." And the video is him just dancing around his fucking humongous house.
I saw that and I was like,
right? How tone deaf is that? That's exactly the words my mate used. That's not even my words. That's what his words were, which was, how tone deaf is that? We're not all in this together, Drake.
Yeah,
Some
you're
of us,
right in your gated community.
right? And you know, saying that, oh, I only ever use the swimming pool now because I have to stay at home. Okay, like,
See, you're not making, like, I don't like him anyway, right? hearing this, and you've reminded me of this video. Yeah, man. No, he's placed back in the. I've opened the box up. I've put Drake in there. I've closed the lid on the hate. I've closed the lid on the hate box. Yeah, man, he's in there.
But he, again, there's obviously, like I keep saying, there's nuance to this conversation. He could have great intentions for all of this, and sometimes I believe he might do. It's just, I think maybe there might be people around him who know the implications but don't care, because all they care about is publicity. They care about conversation being made about him. They don't care about him, right? They'll be like, yeah, you know what, Drake, that's a good idea. Yeah, let's do that. Knowing full well that, yeah, in essence, ethically, this is a stupid decision.
Yeah, for real.
But that's going to attract a lot of numbers. What do we want? We want numbers and we want money. So who gives a fuck? We're not Drake. We're just his team.
But there you go.
That's why you shouldn't be idolizing the celebrities. They're not even always the ones making the decisions.
Exactly. We spoke about it. I don't know if we spoke about it on the stereo or whenever. But basically
about labels and stuff. Yeah.
All these people might not even know, when they rock up to video shoots and stuff, they ain't in control.
Yeah, we were talking about that on stereo, I think.
Yeah, so exactly. in all fairness, they're part of something, a money-making machine. That's all these labels want, right? And they don't care about, I think, the social damage that they're causing.
Come with it.
I'm so happy that I grew up with Rage Against the Machine in the zeitgeist. Like, I'm so happy I grew up with that, because, I remember seeing them the first time I saw them was on TV, and it was like Reading, and I just remember this skinny dude who looks like a rat with dreads, shouting about a bullet in the head, and I was like, what is this? You've got my attention. And then the more you sort of grow, to learn about them, these are people that with principles that stood for something, and yes, they were commercially really viable and stuff. And I can't remember, there was some really altruistic thing they did with their money, but I can't remember. But looking at, Michael Jackson had more money than entire countries.
Just about to mention him.
Did do a hell of a lot of good, wasn't he? When he was alive, wasn't he the biggest contributor to charities? And now, we don't know how many people were helped because of that, because some charities or lots of
course,
the money doesn't necessarily
his intention
go where it's
was
needed.
There, right?
As misguided as it would have been,
yeah, but his intention felt very genuine as well, because a lot of this came to light after he died. That's a key point. He never went around telling. He only ever, in one interview, said it in a defense, where he said, when I come here, I go and visit these sick children, right? And then the paparazzi spin it and make it sound like, I did something, or I said something that was out of order, when I didn't. And that's the only time I've heard him really openly say, or it's on a private tape that has come out after he died. It's never been, it's not like the Drake thing where it's like, I'm going to show people how altruistic I've been.
Yeah. Shut up. We don't need to see it. We need to hear, like Keanu Reeves, for example, over the years, loads of stories have come out just over the years of just how much of a legend he is. It's like, during the Matrix films, I'm sure you heard that the visual effects team weren't getting paid fairly. So he was like, well, all right, cool. I'm getting 60 million.
Right.
Just divvy up 30 million between you. Do you know what I mean? Things like that.
Without having to tell people as well. You don't need to tell people.
Yeah, and he wouldn't say a thing to anybody. And that's the thing, there were loads of stories about how nice Keanu Reeves is, just on a human level.
People said that about Eminem. People said that about MJ. Even with Eminem as well. Yeah, how just down to earth he is. Almost all celebrities I've watched interviews of, when they've said they've met him, they just talk about how he is what he is in his music. He's really into hip hop. That's what he talks about, and he talks about what he's into, and he actually does listen to new artists, and he follows the game. He's very up to date. So when you listen to his music, and you might say, why is he doing this? Why is he doing that? Well, actually, he genuinely is just doing what he wants to do, right? Because he's very up to date on what's going on right now. His ear is to the street. But then it's it does make it a bit more frustrating. Okay, Emma, I want you to do what these guys are doing. But it's Royce da 5'9" is having to really back him recently, and say, because people have been asking, well, what does Eminem do? What charities does he give to? What's he done for Detroit? And he's like, what? Like, he just doesn't go and brag about it. And if he did brag about it, you lot would be like, why is he bragging about it? He can't win. Like,
Exactly.
you know, that feels more genuine. He's just doing it because he believes in it.
Royce da 5'9" even said it himself. He's just like, look, he's my friend. I'm not just cooning for a white guy.
Like, yeah, he's actually my friend. And Royce is the last person to coon. Like, I don't feel comfortable me saying that, right? But like, he's the last person to be doing that for like,
I agree.
a white guy.
I don't get the sense that he's a guy that suffers fools. Like, you know, Royce is awesome.
Royce is a great guy. Royce is very pro-black and very much. You know, I don't care if this white guy has 1 million fans and 1 million this and this and that. This guy is just my friend. If he wasn't and he was doing some suspect shit,
he'd call him out on it.
Yeah,
he would. That's the thing. Like, I think he's pretty stand up, but
he called out Joe Budden while they were part of the same group. Like, he fully just went out of his way and was like, yeah, you shouldn't have said that about Eminem, you know? And he met Eminem later than he met Joe, or than he knew Joe, I think. No, that's not true. But no, like, when they reconnected, they go way back to the 90s.
Like, right? I think Royce said that there was a 10-year period where they didn't speak, or 9 or 10-year period.
Yeah, that's it. And during that period, I think he formed Slaughterhouse with Joel Ortiz and Joe and Crooked. So they were like closer. And then he reconnected his relationship, I think, with Eminem. So like during that time, so Eminem came back into the picture. So that's what I meant. So you didn't have to like, but he still called Joe out, saying, you know, why not just call up Eminem and tell him that you don't like the way this is happening or the way this is being done? Why did you have to talk about it on your show in front of all these people? Like, he's supposed to be your boy. You know, he said that out loud. He's not picking sides. He's just going at, you know,
just calling
what he thinks is right.
He's calling out the infringement. Basically, he's just like,
exactly,
that violates the code. Like,
yeah,
right. Let's just air this all now and then let's just move on, sort of thing. Yeah, he's very, very sort of pragmatic in that sense.
Exactly. And again, it's all about it's, you know, as much, it's a mix of things, intention and, you know, what your delivery, how, you know, reading the room and stuff. So, you know, Drake didn't feel like, and again, in Drake's favor, he may just be so kind of living such a unique life compared to all of us.
This is another thing. It's reference point. Yeah.
Maybe he just couldn't see it, right?
Yeah, fingers not on the pulse. That's the thing.
Maybe, you know, I can imagine that to him, he's just thinking from a principled point of view of, oh, we're all in this together because there's a virus out there. Even me as a celebrity, I'm not safe from it, you know, or whatever. We all have to, you know, stay home or whatever. It's like, okay, great. But you then have to go a step further and realize where you are compared to where everyone else is, and think about how they would view that. You know, for example, I don't think he didn't go that far, or someone in his team didn't go that far. I don't know what it is. Again, I'm not.
Or he just lacks empathy because he's a morally ambiguous, vacuous black hole of intention.
It could be that too, but again, we don't know, and I'm not gonna defend that point just because I like his music. Yeah, you know, I don't know him,
but that's the thing. Yeah, like, he makes bangers. You can make excuses for, like, well, not excuses, but you can make allowances. Sorry, for anything like that, because maybe it was just a genuine misstep. Maybe he was trying to do some good in the world. Like, I've got all this money, I just need to blow it on whatever. That is a fantastic thing to do. But the thing is, as well, I think what builds like not like a mythos. Yeah, like a mythos. Like, I think Keanu Reeves has that, where it's very much, you know, referred to my earlier point, where none of it was done in front of the cameras. It wasn't done for attention. Just
it wasn't
good shit that he's done. And, like, you know, I ragged on Leonardo DiCaprio. Like, he's done a bunch of good stuff as well. Like, don't get me wrong. For
sure.
But just don't preach when you've got your private jet and private boats.
This is the thing.
Like, again, shut up. You
nuance.
Don't regulate my life. And this is the thing. This is why nobody should worship any celebrities or think that they've got any clout, because they do not identify on our level. They do not vibrate on our frequencies, like, in terms of money. So
how can you expect them to, right? Like, you know,
why would you want to? Somebody gives me 20 million pounds for like an album that I've done. You
yeah,
think I'm going to live in this? I love this house. Like, don't get me wrong. You
yeah,
think I'm going to
same. I
live
love
here?
this house, but I'm setting my sights beyond this. Why would I stop here?
I'm
Right?
buying this house outright, and then I'm going to buy some unbelievably sick house
Exactly.
with gates.
When you get 3 mortgages, like your boy
Two
Drizzy.
mortgages like worth 30 million. It's a bad investment.
Yeah.
Bad investment. Because if you're relying on album sales, you've got to be making albums for the rest of your life. What are you doing?
Yeah. But yeah.
What are you doing? Anyway.
Well, so it's so interesting. Like at uni, I remember I think I told you because I think I had to do a foundation year. So I did this year and I took a gap year. So during my gap year, they changed what the foundation year was. So then during the foundation year, it became more geared towards international students. So one of the courses you had to do, one of the modules was like the last 200 years of the United Kingdom's kind of history. And so I ended up having to do that, right? I thought I was just going in to do philosophy, right? But then that became a part of it because during my year, if I had gone straight after college, then it would have been different, I think. But during my gap year, they happened to change it for that. It was more that, oh, okay, the following year, we're going to gear it more towards international students. And that happened to be the year I was actually going to go to uni, if that makes sense, because there was a year gap. So by the time I got there, they switched it up a little bit. And so I remember doing this class, and it was like very small classes, like 8 people, and mainly international students. And so I understood what it was. It's trying to like climatize them to the living in the UK for the next 4 years, and kind of studying here and living here and being here. And we had this really great teacher who or lecturer, and he I think, was it on this show I was mentioned to you that whole thing about school uniforms, how they changed from like boys' ones were like light red, pink, and girls wore a different color, and then at one point they just switched them. And you know, I think maybe when we were talking about female MCs,
I think so. That strikes me as stereo.
Yeah, it might have been a stereo talk because I remember we were talking about like our bias and perceptions towards different people from different kind of sections of life. And another thing that he kind of illuminated to us was that this idea of being a celebrity or like it's something you never think of really until someone puts it in front of you, that this idea of asking like a musician or an actor about something related to politics or something else that they're not qualified to talk about is actually quite new. And actually, when you sit there and think through it like that, and you think, wait, yeah, why do we ask these people or care what these people think about things that they're not qualified to talk about? Really, I mean, some of them might be qualified to talk about it. They might just have this particular like niche interest in something, or like have done a lot of study on it. Fine. But a lot of the time, it's like, then, you know, you're asking them certain questions and that they're not qualified to really give a really, really deep, you know, viewpoint on. And then you kind of put their answer everywhere out in the media.
Yeah.
Not the people whose voices actually are really, really matter. Right. So we get these simplified, overly kind of, oh, what I've said is so profound kind of bullshit everywhere. And it's like, okay, but what are the experts saying? What's actually happening? I don't care what Leonardo DiCaprio thinks about this shit. I care what the actual person doing this shit thinks about this shit.
Like, so yeah, I hear you,
strange,
bro.
Isn't it?
It's two things which will prove the case that you're making, right? I remember this, and like even Dave Chappelle referenced it. So I remember it when it happened, and then Dave Chappelle said it on the Chappelle show, right? But it was during the World Trade Center fell, and I'll never forget, on the Saturday morning there was an interview because I used to listen to Capital Radio. There was Capital Radio, Radio X. There was like 105.4. I can't. There was a bunch of other like underground stations. Anyway, I happened to be listening to Capital that morning, and then they said, you know, we've got Ja Rule to talk about the World Trade Center.
I knew it was going to be this.
Yeah,
I knew.
And I do remember when Dave Chappelle said it, and I was like, oh my god, like I remember this interview.
Yeah,
and like it's just the way that I didn't think this at the time, but I remember when Dave Chappelle was just like, who gives a fuck what Ja Rule thinks?
Who gives a fuck what Ja Rule thinks?
Such a good point. Like it's such a good point. And also like with regards to the wrong people getting the getting the mic, so to speak.
Mm.
I think that during a lot of these the pandemic and stuff like that, a lot of scientists who are leading epidemiologists and virologists have published work saying, hey guys, maybe the way that the UK government is handling things isn't the right way. Maybe we should look at doing X, Y, and Z, like other ways.
Sure.
They haven't been given the mic, and they've been sort of shouted down as conspiracy theorists or people that are contrary to the common good, and almost not deplatformed, but sort of
lesser platforms,
cast away into the shadows, sort of thing. So I think basically what it is when you have a celebrity say it, it's like a friendly, well-known face. You kind of identify with a celebrity, like people identify with movies, like you do music, right? Your musical taste is personal. Your political taste is personal, but your movie taste is also personal, and you develop relationships with different actors because they portray different characters that you happen to like. For me, I mean, I could rattle you off a bunch of actors who I love, right?
Yeah, sure.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
Harrison Ford. Flipping love Harrison Ford. I think he's amazing.
Sure.
Right? Love a bit of Clint Eastwood. Yep, give me a bit of Denzel Washington,
Yeah, Denzel Washington's that guy.
He was that guy. He was that guy. Yeah.
Okay.
The reason I say
are you talking acting or?
Oh, I'm just talking acting. Yeah, I just think.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm kind of like, I'm off the Denzel train. But anyway, fair. But I do think that with actors, you can package up a complex idea and make it really, really simple, so that people are easily amenable, I guess, to whatever small message you want to get across to them. And I guess that's why there's been such a, especially in the last few years, an over-reliance on celebrities. Cardi B is everywhere, or Beyonce is everywhere and stuff. And it's like, well, we've had a bit much of that. But I think during COVID and stuff, it's almost, this is how it feels for me anyway. It feels like a reset on, oh, hang on a minute, these guys are just people too. Like, I don't.
Yes, I felt that too.
They're actors. They're idiots. Like, I'm an idiot. Like, these guys are idiots too.
Yeah.
Like,
you just happen to get famous and get paid more, right?
Exactly. You're figuring it out too, and you're culpable, and you'll make mistakes too. And this is the thing, it's almost like the great equalizer. And it's, I hope we don't go back into, loving celebrities anymore, or idolizing them and thinking that they should have any sway. I've really come on the other side of the fence now, where I'm like, if you're an actor, act and shut up. I want to see you on film. I don't want to hear you in real life. You ain't got no right to actually talk to me, a grown man, about how I need to live my life. Like, no, I figured it out myself, right? But if you're going to talk to me like well-learned people, let's take, I don't know, who's a psychologist, Jordan Peterson, for example.
Right.
I'll listen to that for ages, because you're bringing new knowledge into my head. You're not telling me how to. You're giving me like about 17 different options. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
You're a psychologist. You understand, a little bit more how people work. So I'm gonna sort of listen to what they will
listen
say.
to you, not whoever else. Like, I can't even pick off the top of my head.
Exactly. Whereas actors, what can you do? You can cry on command, and you can act angry whenever you want. Okay, fine, great. Do you know what I mean? Like,
I get what you mean.
Actors are brilliant. Like, don't get me wrong. It's a very, very difficult thing.
I know the point you're trying to make is that,
yeah,
you're trying to say that, look, if I boil it down, look, you do this thing in the same way that my thing that I do, which is like, I'm very good at, I also do that. But no one's coming to ask me for my fucking political opinion, except for my friends, because they're just genuinely interested, right? The world isn't, right?
Exactly.
And no one's giving it like the weight of kind of, well, this is going to change my opinion because KD thinks this, right? But
you never know.
If I was a famous actor or a famous musician or something, I can see then that changing, and that in principle is a bit of an issue, right? But I think you're right. I think during the COVID times, I've seen this kind of shift where it's kind of changed.